Damjan is part of our team, our Brainster team. He's a mentor in the bootcamp at the bootcamp in Vienna. So I will let him introduce himself and share his insights with us. So
Super duper. Thanks, Anya. Let me just okie dokie. I'm gonna just one sec. I'm gonna share my screen. Da-da-da. And there we go. Ba-ba-ba. Yep. Okie dokie. There we go. Okay. There we go. Now it works. There's the obligatory question if you see the right screen, but I think you do. I take it as a yes. Cool. Let's do this. Okie dokie. Okay. And I think we're ready, right?
yes, you can start.
Okay. Cool. So welcome everyone. Welcome back from the coffee pause. And it's very exciting to talk about Hannes, and he was talking about bots. So I love Autobots. I'm quite old, so I do remember Transformers in their original form, and I've been actually talking about this Autobots and how do we transform for this new normal. So what we're doing today, instead of meeting in person, and what we're doing, for example, in the Brainster bootcamp in Vienna, which is not happening in Vienna but all over. It's kind of this new normal experience, and we're all transforming and trying to design for it, and it's exciting and scary. So I did talk about it, but that topic to more like a boring audience at Hannes's conference, for example, at World Disability Congress, and it's very exciting to share some of the insights also with you. So I've seen some familiar faces, so that's really cool to see some of our students here. But just a quick, uh, just a quick intro. So who am I? So I'm also from this small country of Slovenia, but similar to Nina, for example, that was having a great talk before. So I've been fortunate or sadistic enough to travel most of my life, and I've been around from very early age. So I did for some weird reason actually go to school in between. So I have a computer science PhD. Never did anything with computers, but broke them. So, but I worked, as I said, I worked with startups, a lot of them. So I created one as well. Raised some money. Obligatory failure at the end, but it was a fun journey. But most importantly, I worked with some really, really cool startups across the world, from US, Norway, Austria. We were in Bulgaria for a year. So it's been a really, really cool journey. And I've been going back and forth as a designer and researcher. So if people ask me what I do, I'm a design researcher. And what does it mean? It's kind of, I'm neither good at design or research. So I'm kind of in between. So and you can get away. And from startups, I went also and work with a lot of big enterprises. Like for example, we worked with Mayo Clinic, one of the famous hospitals, a group of hospitals in the US. So I worked with them on how to do corporate well-being and really complex systems. I really, really enjoy working these boring products, but that are actually meaningful. To what Anna was saying before, is really inspires me if we're working on products that are not cool but bring value. But to kind of go back to how conflictive of a person I am. So I went from startups and doing meaningful stuff. I went to Vienna and took over a rather big team. At the end, it was more than 25 designers in my team, and was head of user experience at Bwin. And it's a much bigger group. So the group was GVC, so a lot of brands underneath. Bwin was just one. So but that was really fun, but not really my cup of tea. So when we moved to Norway, I landed soon after. I landed back into what really, really inspires me. So finally, at the age of, I don't know, it's 35 or I think when I joined Cisco, for example, when I was working on hardware and software and helping design products like this one on this screen to help people meet and have meaningful conversations no matter the distance. And so this is where we are today. This is again me today. And if I recap the last 3 years of my life, I love meetings, which means I love going to meetings. I'm in meetings, and most importantly, I study how we work, how we do meetings, and how we collaborate. And this is what we do at Pexiv, where I'm a design researcher at the moment, and I'm really enjoying my role there because it's allowing me to actually talk to people, observe how we work today and how we'll work in the future. And as we like to say in Pexiv, we help you meet the world. So we do products for video conferencing, what we're doing today. So we're trying to make it as good as in person, or as we like to say, even better if possible. So that's me in a nutshell. And you can imagine that landscape has really changed for the meetings industry. And this is what I want to talk about today with you is how do we as designers design for this? How do we design from, for example, from being stuck in offices, and we used to complain. I was on planes a lot and I was complaining, I don't see my family. And then suddenly everything is canceled. And and from being locked at the airport, we are now being locked at home. And as designers, we are usually we like to roll up our sleeves and then say like, great, it's a meaningful challenge. Let's design a solution. Uh, Sadly, we were not the first to do that because of course like all the consultancies and the agencies and they were already ahead of us, ahead of everyone, because they've seen, oh, things are changing, you need to transform. And I worked with a lot of business consultancies, and I admire them, but it's also challenging sometimes when they try to see a solution for a transformation in everything. So I always take it with a pinch of salt. And they love to talk about digital transformation. So I was, because I'm a sarcastic person, so I like to challenge things. So what does it mean to digitally transform your company? There was this really interesting, I'm sure you've probably seen it, this survey that has been circulating the web. Uh, so who in your company is responsible for digital transformation? And it was really interesting. Is it your chief executive officer? Is it your CTO? Or is it COVID-19, so the coronavirus? And most like people that were asked, they agreed that it's actually because of COVID-19, companies need to change faster. It is really interesting. There's nothing good about COVID-19 and the situation we are in, but it's definitely some side effects like collateral that we are seeing some speed of change, which is much faster than it used to be, at least when you talk about technology. Mm, so this is like the big articles like we're in crisis, you need to change, your companies need to change, and it's time is right to disrupt, and this is all kind of music for our designer ears, because we are usually like we like to be part of this change. But it's also, like I said, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. And that's why when I work with teams, and for example, when I look at how I work with my team members at Pexiv, we say like, okay, let's look at how this transformation would look like. So if I give you a couple of examples, if this is one of my colleagues, and she wants to join a daily stand-up we have, and she's from China, so she dials in from China, and that was true already before COVID hit. So nothing changed there. We can do our stand-ups, we can collaborate remotely perfectly fine. I've been doing that for years. And as Nina was saying before, it's more and more we are used to that, and more companies are embracing that, so that's perfectly fine. Then, because I used to live in Vienna, and I love a good coffee and some pastry. I love donuts, by the way. And I love my morning routine to, for example, get a coffee and something to nib. Uh, can I do that today when everything is on lockdown? I can. I just order it in the app, and then I pick it up. It's not the same, but it's still the same quality of the end product. Maybe the service is different. then, for example, if I want to do yoga, I never did yoga before, but I started in Norway, and it's really good for my old bones. And it's getting a bit harder because it's not the same. So I do need someone to, like tell me like you're doing it totally wrong, or you need to suffer more, and you can do it remotely. So it is possible over video. So it's there. Mm, and then we go into muddy waters. So if I'm going for a beer with friends, then it's a bit trickier. But at least what we can do is I can order in the app, and then I can take it over the counter. But then we go and say, let's have a beer over video, and then I would say like, this is the limit for me. So it's not the same. There's no point. So as much as I love all these wine tastings over video and all the end of year celebrations, it's definitely not the same. So there's some boundaries, and if we talk about digital transformation, we can never really do the same here, and it's beyond beer, I think. Mm, so what we've seen is what we're using now to have a conversation. It's we started to invent these new terms for the things we are experiencing. So we're having so many video meetings every day that we even invented a term such as, for example, Zoom fatigue or a video meeting fatigue. And this just means it's becoming serious. We're aware of it. And there's like my favorite one, Zombie. So like a person that's all day in video conferences. So this is the new normal which we are in, and this is what we're trying to understand. Mm, and I'm trying to say, yeah, but for designers, new is exciting, new is fun. We love that. It's opening new doors, new opportunities. And yes, I very, very much agree. If new is, we're designing a new way to meet people or to explore new music, that's all great and rosy, right? But when we talk about, for example, what I'm working with meetings and working together, it's not really about excitement. It's about stability. It's about like keeping as is, because as you will hear a lot is that one thing is sure, and every human being, as much as we like to say that we are innovative, we like new things, but every change is scary. Change is scary because like our brains are almost hardwired um, against change. So they seek familiarity, and that's when you look about user experience design. One of the principles, one of the heuristics, the basics is design with familiarity in mind. So change is scary. Just be aware of it. You can design for it, but just be aware of it. And then the second thing is the new experiences. mm, they both take time to shape, so to design them. You need to take time to properly understand what is really needed, and then B, you need to give people some time to embrace this new change, new experience. So that's with COVID-19, for example, a lot of things hit us very fast. So we went from A to Z, and there's nothing in between. And we, as we like to invent new words for everything. And there's this thing called the new normal. I'm sure you've heard about it. There's like hashtags all over. So the new normal. So again, is it really new? This something very unique? The new situation we are in, or is it the new normal because it's actually a different version of something we used before? Or for example, the new normal because we've now started to talk about vaccinations, and we are kind of getting ready like for the life after COVID-19. And what will that new normal really look like? So does it make sense that we create new words for this new thing, or it's just a future we need to kind of design for? So very philosophical, I know. Sorry about that, but I think it's very important for us as designers to look at okay, what does it really mean? So is it just a buzzword, this whole transformation thing, or is it really something we need to be designing for? And I have a 6-year-old at home. His name is Oscar. And when you would ask him, and I did ask him like what future looks like, it changes every week, right? We watch Wally together, and then he told me a couple of weeks ago. He told me that in the future we'll all be flying in these chairs and we'll be fat. You know that we'll be fat because we won't exercise. So that's the future. So it looks very promising. And I'm sure if I ask him today, because there's a couple of movies we watched in the meantime, I'm quite sure his definition of future will change. And it's not only unique to kids. I think the future does change, and the definition of it changes. And so I want to show you what I've been working on in the past 2 or 3 years. So as said, I've been working with the topic of workplace transformation. So how does our place of work change? How do we work together in teams? And now that we have distributed teams, and how will we work in the future? And so if I compare this, so I took a snapshot in August 2019 and March 2020, and that's intentional because COVID hit in January, February this year, and my one piece of my research finished in August last year, and it's only 7 months between, and there's a huge difference. There's a huge gap, as you'll see. So it's a huge body of work. I was not working on it alone, and it's an ongoing research with Vexi. Before that, with my other teams, and we've been looking into all continents. More than 150 participants used a lot of especially qualitative research methods, and we visited like tons of companies, looked at especially this so-called high-performing teams. How do they work, and why are they more successful? It was really interesting. If I do this snapshot, is in August 2019, we looked at, for example, offices, and there was this trend of open landscape office, especially in the US because it's so expensive. The office spaces are so expensive, so they need to squeeze more people in. And when you look at it today, the trend is very clear. So these people are all sent home. So if you can work from home, you should work from home. And that's the reality. And then if you look at the meeting rooms, there was this trend that meeting rooms have as high quality as possible audio video equipment, so you could have good meetings. So you could leave your desk, go to this meeting room, have a meaningful conversation with the other team that was, for example, in China, Singapore, Tokyo, and then you would go back to your desk or back to your normal office. Today, we are doing what we're doing now. We are all on our laptops, computers. Suddenly, the laptop camera is more than good enough. Yes, we do complain, but it just works, and it's changed. And this is the new normal. And then the hot thing in August last year was this so-called huddle space, so small rooms, like breakout rooms, where you would go and quickly grab a person, have a quick meeting, maybe call someone. Uh, and this was not to disturb your other colleagues. Well, today we just simply rely on our clients, like on the apps, and we just hope everything works. And it's kind of, we're okay with it. We accounted for it. And if you look at the good thing that it's today, we're much more connected in a way because we are in this shit, as we like to call it. We are in this together. So we are all equal. So no one has a better equipment. I mean, I have my gold mic here, but it does make me a more like a less. It does make it for a less democratic meeting experience. Was before, if you'd have a big office like with expensive equipment, it's less inclusive for remote workers. But now everybody is remote, so everybody is joining from somewhere. So this is it's kind of the upside that it's more democratic. Mm, and you all know this. So this is like the ups and downs. It's so cool, as Nina was saying. You can move to a remote place in Japan and just work from anywhere, which is beautiful. It's amazing. But there's obvious upsides if you work in person. There's more chemistry. So healthy balance is somewhere in between, and this is the hybrid, as you will see later, which we're moving towards. And to be fair, for most of us, it's like it's not as cool. So we actually work more in the environments like this, right? This is a real case. So we another reason why we like our home offices a bit more. Mm, so things are changing, but it's not all, as I was saying, it's not all bad or all good. So my job is at work to look at what's good and what's bad and where are we going, as I said. And the good thing is that virtual meetings, they're actually showing us that with if we properly design it, we can make the experience better. And for one, they're much shorter, which is really good. And two, it can get as crazy and then collaborative as it's in person. This is of course an extreme use case. So this is from Miro's yearly conference, and this is not what you're aiming for. But if you design your, for example, meetings, your workshops, your remote workshops, it can work. And like I said, it's the upside is that our meetings during COVID-19 are much shorter, 20 or even more higher percentage shorter, which is good in my books. Shorter meeting is better meeting because then you can go and actually work and not be in meetings the whole day. And the downside of being virtual is, as we said, we are kind of all Zoom based now, and it's hell for example, for parents, because a lot of kids are forced to homeschooling, so they're schooling from home. So it's not really easy for some. So it's very excluding, but it's just because of the situation we are in. Um, and as I'm sure you also like at least are familiar with that too, because we are virtual, we're actually it's much harder for us to stop working. So we're always online, we're always connected, we're always one click away. And this is kind of disturbing, but uh, as designers, again, going back to we need to know that this we need to embrace it and say like, okay, this is the new normal, and let's face it, it's nothing but normal. It's not better or worse, but it's not normal, and that's okay. So that's not scary, as they say here in Norway. Alt blir bra, all will be well. So at the end, all will be well, and this is hopefully we as designers. So every one of you on the call will help us get there. So you'll help design a way to get there, and find meaningful ways to get there. Mm, so this is what we need to do is we need to kind of find solutions. And when I was looking a couple of weeks ago this was in the Apple Store, and I said like, yes, we need to focus and de-stress. So that's very, very true. So we need to take care, as it says, of our mind and our body, especially in these remote times when we are stuck in this chair most of our days. But then as soon as you click, this is what it says. There's no shame in taking a break from being super productive. I agree. These apps will help you get some me time without having to leave your desk. And what the hell? This is this is not the solution. Of course, it's a solution for Apple because they will sell you more apps and more time in the apps, but this is definitely not the solution. And we're again talking about features. Again, something that Anna was saying before, like how can we design more products that don't make sense? And it's so easy, but to get stuck in discussions like this. So I've been in so many discussions like this. So in our industry, so for example, what is better, like to see a 7 by 7, so to see more people, or to see less people, or how should we position people? So for example, that it's a more as they like to say, more engaging experience in the meeting. But it's just comparing features. We are still not tackling the real issue. And this is from Microsoft Teams, for example. They did this really amazing feature called Together Mode. I don't know if you've seen it. and it's advertised as something that is going to make a more immersive experience. So it's going to be as in person. So you don't have to go on a football match. You don't have to go to a meeting room because you'll have exactly the same experience. But in the end, it's most often than not, it looks like that. And it's not really more immersive, not really bringing us together. It's a great feature. It's super tech behind, but it's not really solving the problem. It's just adding gimmick, and kind of, as we like to say in design, like having this band-aid over the problem. So it's kind of competing and not really solving the needs that are out there. So in this super fast times, especially for our industry, is we need to kind of like take a break uh, and take time to think. And I would argue that us as designers, we need to push and click that reset button, the red button that will take us to a kind of almost to a pause. And this is your job, is to be that person saying like, you know what, Mr. Stakeholder, Mrs. Product Manager, you might be right, but we need to think, and we need to think about what we say the core needs. So what is really needed. So if I go back to my industry, so what are really the needs? So when we start every meeting in whatever tool we use, uh, someone, I would always ask, like, can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Great. Can you see my screen? Remember, I was saying, I hope you can see the right screen. I'm still not 100% sure you see the right screen. And someone in like 1 or 2 minutes in would probably say like, can you please mute yourself? We luckily have people like Anya on the call to mute everybody else, or to default mute everyone. But a lot of times you will have someone nibbling on their sandwich, and then you would say like, come on, man, like I don't want to hear you eat during my very important presentation. So this is the core needs. We've been in this industry forever, and still we haven't solved it. We're adding features on top, but we're not really solving the core problem. And this is true for, I would argue, for a lot of verticals, a lot of products, and we're just adding features instead of asking the really important question. So I'd argue that we need to kind of kick ourselves and then say like, okay, we need to shift the KPIs, key performance indicators. How do we measure our success? And in our industry, let's say like, instead of having longer meetings, let's just measure meetings and say we are more successful if the meetings are shorter. Or we say, you know what, it's actually we would like to measure success by how actionable our meeting minutes, so how actionable our meeting summaries are, how active were the participants, how democratic were the meetings, so how inclusive are we in our work processes. So let's measure success differently. And so I want to show you a quick video, and I think we still have time. I will cut it short. It's a 2-minute video, how we kind of interpret what's important, and just to show the focus which we are in our team, what we're working towards in our future.
It's essential for human interaction to be in sync, to have good timing. On that note, another important part of human interaction is sound. But there's a problem. Sound travels slowly. Now listen to these guys. They're in sync, and it sounds great. But if we move them apart, something happens. It doesn't sound as great, because sound needs time to travel. And when the distance becomes too far apart, it's impossible to stay in sync. Sound familiar? Now these guys have built the technology to fix that.
If we can bring that latency ultra low, we would be able to bring people back in sync. And the way we're going to demonstrate this is that we're going to get 4 musicians, a string quartet, and we're going to place them in 4 different locations, and we're going to attempt to have them play together as if they're playing in the same room, even though we're sending them over video conferencing technology. You're working with tiny margins of error, no metronomes, no cheating. If they are in sync, we will hear beautiful music. Too much latency is gonna make the whole thing collapse. So you ready for this?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I have thought about this for 12 years now. One more. I strongly believe that we are missing out on a big part of natural communication. And I think this experiment can be a guiding post for everyone, showing them that ultra-low latency is possible and that we have a chance of bringing people back in sync and giving everyone a much better meeting experience.
It's essential for human interaction to be.
So I hope that's I'm really happy that we're part of this, that we're inspired and incentivized to actually focus on those kind of elements. And this is like a segue to the final part, that this is the new future, and the new future is hybrid, and we need to kind of design for it. So we need to, if I go back, we need to look about the core needs, as I was saying, and we need to see that this new future, it's kind of in between. And what does hybrid mean? It's a buzzword, I know, sorry about it. But it's hybrid means is that it's just gonna be somewhere in between. And as the news headlines are saying, for example, in this case in the US, Dropbox is not going to shut down offices, but they're just going to repurpose offices, and they will still keep them. What they will do, for example, invite people in once a week or once a month, have a meaningful experience, and then just account for it that the rest of the time people will work as again, as Nina was saying, from their office. I hope your office looks something like that. Mine doesn't, as you can see behind me. But this is the new hybrid normal, and there's nothing wrong. It's a bit scary because we know we cannot define it, and that's okay. As I was saying, it's okay. And if we look at other places and get it inspired, it's already happening, and it's been happening for a long time. So, for example, do you really need to meet your if you have a once you have a kid at school, they need to meet every single time in person? Like, we can do a lot of things online, and we have this tool called Vigilo, for example, and we can have conversations with the teacher, with other parents in a safe and private environment. Or, for example, when you go to the doctor, it's not always you need to run to the ER, and there's things that you can do, at least some triage, for example, follow-up care you can do remotely, and that's perfectly fine. So this is already happening, and it will continue to be there. We just need to design for it. And I would challenge us, all of us, that in these new times, as like, we need to design for 4 things, and this goes across industries, and anywhere, any industry you're gonna you work with. So these 4 things, I think, are very, very important. They're, of course, very, very true for the meeting and the collaboration, and it's about like confidence. So is the user confident in themselves and their products? Uh, is it secure? Am I sure I'm doing the right thing? So if I invest my time in this, am I doing the right thing? And third thing is, users need to trust you. They need to trust you, and you as a designer, when you design products, you achieve that by being honest. And honesty is a very, very hard sell, especially to your superiors, because honesty usually means you're exposing parts of your products that are maybe not the best, or not the best yet. But this is how you get trust. And it's kind of the cheapest way to gain and keep trust is by being honest. And final thing is resilience. So people are annoyed when they're not able to rely on your products because of change. And for example, you have a really good product that works amazingly well face to face, but then COVID-19 comes and then the whole process fails because you didn't account for that. So resiliency is this resistance, what is the stamina, endurance of the products we build. It's usually not the sexy thing to design for because it means it's not as progressive maybe. Resilient means it's maybe a bit more conservative, robust. But this is important, and especially in this testing times. So if there's a there's a money shot in this couple of boring slides, I would argue this is it. So design for this four things: design for confidence, for user confidence. So they need to be happy, confident in themselves when they use your products. They need to be sure and feel secure. They need to be sure that they made the right choice to trust you. And trust is something that's, like I said, earned very hard. But once you have it, it's also very easy to lose it. So be honest, have an honest discussion with the users, and you will keep that trust. And resilience is what's especially needed in this, as we like to call it, hyper-local global futures, another buzzword. Mm. So if you go to any fancy co-working space, they will talk about it. This new future is hyper-local, which means we're going to spend more time in our local bubbles, but we're connected globally to our peers. And as Bart says here, it's not all bad, so the bubble can be good. The bubble can be good if we design for it, as we like to talk about serendipity. So what if I talk in my local co-working space together with a physician, with a doctor, and with a gardener? Imagine the things we can come up with when we talk to each other. And imagine our companies, our employers are encouraging that. That's amazing. And finally, it's our job that we help save the world, because technology alone, it will not save us. I don't want to be gloomy, but we as designers, we have the we have the mandate, and we have the power, but we need to step up, and we need to take action. We can help, and we can most importantly help not just design products, but as I like to see it, we need to help design these resilient processes and create technology agnostic spaces, which means not bound to one piece of technology, but spaces that foster meaningful interactions no matter the technology you use. And sorry, I'm a bit over time, but with this, I leave you. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, and open for questions. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Damjan, for this inspirational talk and all the insights on the new normal. So, okay, guys, you can ask the questions in the chat below. I have one question also. How this new normal and working from home affects your productivity and the productivity of your team? Are you more productive now that you're working from home? Because here at Brainster, actually, our team, I can say that we are a lot more productive working from home. So
Yeah. Yeah, we see that. We also research shows, as a research outside of what I'm working on, it shows exactly that. So it can be much more productive, and it is, but it's also more tiresome. So a lot of people get lost in there. For example, people that weren't used to. So you need to have routines. Like, really, number one rule is keep to the same routines. So people will even argue, like, dress up as you would go to work, like use the same shave. When you will see me, like the students on the Brainster students, they know, like, I don't even shave. I got jokes because I'm village people here. So, and this is wrong. This is not how you're supposed to do it. But it's so easy to fall into these traps. And then I'm just gonna make a coffee. I'm just gonna do this, and then you're doing these little things in between, and then you extend your day, so you're less productive by default. So I'm maybe more productive in the office, but it's statistically proven that yes, people are actually more productive because they're masters of their time in a way.
and do you think that, like, now when we are working from home, I feel that sometimes we work like 24 hours a day, and like there is no stop. And can you give us some tricks, like should we, I don't know, after 5 p.m. should we turn off our computers, or I don't know, emails, or just not check email after 5 p.m.?
Yeah, definitely. And that's to routines. So you need to have like offline time, most definitely. What I would suggest, especially if we are designers and a lot of us, we work in different time zones. So I try to stick to like, so I'm like 1 or 2 hours in the evening. I'm usually available just to check up. But that's not advisable or needed, but have those routines and have working hours. A lot of tools that we use, like for example, Slack, they have working hours, so you can set yourself and people know, and they can force a notification. So I have this culture in our team, so you can force a notification in Slack. So I will get a notification, but that means it's urgent, otherwise I won't get the notification. So that's kind of, but the team needs to respect that. So I have working hours. And as for example, I was at Airbnb, and they have this no meeting Wednesday. So, and the whole company doesn't meet on Wednesday, and this is super important because we have meetings like every day. So I tried that. I try to squeeze meetings in 1 2 days, and then I'm kind of try to carve time in between, especially for designers. We need time to design and think. And if you have meetings, it just like breaks your flow. So this is a killer. Try to squeeze the meetings. I would always advise that. But have routines and be open and say like, no, you know what? This is the working hours. But it's kind of because, for example, if I have a family, I would like to maybe go home from and be offline from 3 to 5. And this is the time a lot of our developers are super active. So then I said, like, you know what, from 7 to 9, I'm again available, or from 9 to 11, whatever. So it kind of, and then the US team and the Australia team can still reach out.
Yeah. Okay, and also I would like to know what is your I don't know, opinion on instant messaging, especially for designers. It's like I work for the marketing team, and we just have an idea and we need it to be done like now or yesterday, but we just had the idea, and then we are just sending tasks to the design team, and actually they need time to be creative and to focus. And what is your opinion on this instant messaging? And
Yeah. It's a very, very good question. And I don't know if Nina is still on the call, but a good friend of mine, Kim Lennox from Zendesk. So, and she was saying that they have this rule of 3 time zones or 3 oceans. I forgot it was called. And so there's at least 48 hours that you're expected like to actually like respond, or, I mean, it's okay. So you need to acknowledge for that. So kind of by design, like if you need something, then you rather pick up the phone if it's really urgent. Otherwise, like you don't call someone if they don't respond immediately. So it's also this like 5 second pause, so it's also like be mindful before I just start responding, because as a designer, a lot of times the first response will be defensive. So if someone asks you something, it's like, no, this shit, no, I worked all day on this. And then when you take a pause and then say, sometimes things just resolve themselves. That's magic. A lot of times if you take a break, then come back and it's like, oh, don't worry, I found it. It's like so many times that happens. And the other thing is when you look at it and say, okay, what did that person actually mean? And then you say, like, oh, this is where the question is coming from. So sometimes it's good to have a pause. And that's why I like asynchronous. But I don't respond immediately because it's kind of like, okay, so try to take it in chunks. Also, like work for an hour if you use Pomodoro or something, and then just respond. And if it's really emergency, like then they will just, the rule product managers is in if they use Kanban or Trello, like they see things, but if they don't bubble up back again, they just bury them.
yeah.
And if something is really important, it will just bubble back up. It's sorry, but it's triage. And as designers, we are usually the ones like 1 to 10 compared to everybody else. So we are usually very busy. So we cannot help everyone. So do a bit of triage. But instant messaging is it's a tricky thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys. So Okay, a lot of positive comments, positive feedback, and guys, all the comments and questions you can send to Damjan directly. As I said, Damjan is part of our team of the bootcamp in Vienna, so we will see each other a lot. So Damjan, thank you a lot for these tips and tricks.